Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the first episode of Somewhere Somehow the series. The story begins in 2006. During grade 11, a striking athletic girl dressed in a polo PE shirt was walking coolly from school to her house, while listening to music through her headphones. Her confident stride caught the attention of many, who admired her poise and beauty. Her name was Kieran, the granddaughter of Grandma Kim. Kieran was the kind of person who would rather die than back down from anyone. As she walked, immersed in the music playing in her ears, someone called out to her from behind. Startled, she removed her headphones and turned around, only to see a stunningly beautiful girl with a radiant smile that could captivate anyone. Her name was Fimanas. Even Kieran couldn't help but notice her charm. Fimanas teased Kieran, "Why are you walking so fast? Where are you rushing to?" Kieran smirked and replied, "I'm just walking normally. Maybe it's you who's too short to keep up." Fimanas shot her a playful glare, feigning annoyance. "You know I walk slower. Why can't you wait for me?" Kieran responded with mock indifference. "Am I supposed to adjust my pace so we can walk together? I thought I was just supposed to lead the way home. And by the way, I'm carrying your backpack too." Fimanas pouted. "We're supposed to walk together." "Why?" Kieran asked, raising an eyebrow. Fimanas softened her voice and replied, "So we can be by each other's side. Also, if I'm walking behind, I wouldn't get to see your face." Hearing this, Kieran's neutral expression faltered for a moment as she fell silent. In truth, she was shy, and her cheeks turned red. Without saying another word, Kieran put her headphones back on and continued walking, pretending to focus on her music. Fimanas, undeterred, kept talking to Kieran, who appeared not to hear her over the music. Frustrated, Fimanas playfully shouted into Kieran's ear, "What are you listening to? Let me hear it too." Startled, Kieran flinched and reluctantly shared her headphones with Fimanas. The moment the music reached Fimanas' ears, her cheeks flushed a deep crimson, and a shy smile appeared on her lips. She grinned for the rest of their walk home. The story then flashes back to 2005, when Kieran and Fimanas first met. It was grade 9, during the summer break before entering grade 10. At a local high school, Kieran sat lounging on a bench near the pétanque court, enjoying the view of beautiful peeb trees whose sweet fragrance filled the air. Out of nowhere, a girl approached her and asked, "Can I sit here while I wait for my friends?" Caught off guard by the girl's radiant beauty, Kieran nearly fell off the bench. She quickly composed herself and replied with a nonchalant, "Sure." The girl sat beside her and casually asked, "You're in class 1, right?" Kieran was surprised that the famous girl Fimanas even knew her. Kieran played it cool and asked, "How do you know that?" Fimanas smiled and said, "Of course I know you. You're pretty famous." Then she added playfully, "But still, how do you know me?" Kieran looked away and replied, "I've seen you walking to practice here a lot. I like to play pétanque on this court." "Is that strange?" Fimanas laughed softly, "A little. At first I thought you didn't care about anyone except your close friends. That girl you hang out with, her name is Pak, right?" "Yes, Pak's my best friend," Kieran said. Their conversation flowed naturally, and the two started to get to know each other. Fimanas revealed she lived nearby, and before leaving, she made a surprising offer. "Next time, I'll walk you home." Kieran's heart raced at the unexpected suggestion, though she tried not to show it. As the months passed, the two girls continued to cross paths, bonding over simple moments like playing chess, sharing snacks, and enjoying the serene atmosphere of the school grounds. Though they were different in many ways, their friendship grew stronger, setting the stage for a deeper connection as they prepared to enter grade 10 together. Back in 2006, Kieran was playing basketball, fully immersed in the game, when a burst of cheering from the sidelines caught her attention. Curious, she turned to look and saw Fim standing there, radiating charm in her neatly pressed convent school uniform. Her long silky hair was tied with a white ribbon, and her wide, beaming smile was hard to miss. Fim's presence alone seemed to electrify the crowd. Kieran couldn't help but stare, captivated. But her focus shifted when she noticed Baum, her tall and athletic classmate, walking toward Fim. He was waving a piece of paper dramatically, trying to cool off the team while behaving overly affectionate. That scene made Kieran stop mid-game, frozen in place so much that she forgot to chase the ball. Suddenly, the basketball hurtled toward her, hitting her squarely on the forehead. She tumbled to the ground unconscious. When Kieran opened her eyes, she found herself being supported by none other than Fim. As soon as their eyes met, Fim asked with genuine concern. Are you okay, Kieran? The sheer embarrassment of the situation overwhelmed Kieran. Not only had she fainted in the middle of a game, but now she realized she was resting her head on Fim's lap. Still disoriented, Kieran managed to ask, Fim, what happened? Why am I here? You were hit hard by Fa and knocked out cold, Fim explained, her tone equal parts worry and calm. Fa, a giant of a player, had collided with Kieran like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Kieran muttered to herself, momentum equals mass times velocity. Yep, that checks out. As her thoughts scrambled, Kieran couldn't help but ask, But why are you here, Fim? Fim frowned slightly, her expression turning firm. Why do you ask such strange questions? I came to cheer for your basketball game, obviously. Kieran, still feeling guilty, asked, And how did the game go after I left? Fim hesitated. Well, I was distracted, so I'm not entirely sure. Before Kieran could respond, Pak, one of her friends, interrupted with her usual playful teasing. She inspected her face like a detective and declared, Just making sure your nose didn't collapse from that hit. After enduring Pak's antics, the two headed to a shaved ice shop. Over dessert, Pak revealed, after you got knocked out, the team actually won. Kieran was shocked. What? How is that possible? Pak explained, When you collapsed, the gym turned into chaos. People were too distracted by you and Fim to focus on the game. During a timeout, the coach told the team to ignore the drama and play hard. And bam, they turned things around and won. Kieran buried her face in her hands, groaning. So I became an unintentional distraction? Pretty much. Even the opposing team was distracted when Fim brushed your hair aside. That's when Pui sank a three-pointer. Later, as Kieran prepared to leave, she remembered her promise to walk Fim home. She pulled out her phone and saw a text from Fim. Kieran, did you already leave? I was waiting for you, but I didn't see you. Feeling guilty, Kieran quickly replied, Sorry. Fim. I felt a bit dizzy, so I went ahead. Fim responded almost immediately. Oh, I see. Don't worry. I'll ask Uncle Lerm to pick me up. Relieved that she wasn't upset, Kieran put her phone away. But another message soon arrived. Kieran, make sure to take some medicine and rest. I'm worried about you. Kieran's heart skipped a beat. Fim's words always seemed to have that effect on her. Stop daydreaming and help me finish this ice before it melts. Pak's voice snapped her back to reality. Blushing furiously, Kieran stirred her ice aimlessly, trying to calm her racing heart. At this rate, Fim was going to cause her more than just heatstroke. Later, while in class, the teacher was busy teaching, but Pak and Kieran were quietly causing their usual chaos. Pak leaned over and whispered to Kieran, Ki, did you know your story is blowing up all over school? Kieran raised an eyebrow. What story? I don't have any stories. Pak smirked and switched into gossip mode. Well, let me fill you in. The thing about you and Famasa sitting together by the basketball court. This morning, some underclassmen asked me if you two were dating. Kieran's jaw dropped. What did you say to them? Pak shrugged dramatically. I covered for you. I told them I didn't know, but I'd ask you instead. Kieran groaned, burying her face in her hands. Why are you like this? Before Pak could respond, the teacher's voice boomed. Kieran, Pak, what are you two talking about? Pak didn't miss a beat. I'm sorry, teacher. I had a question about the lesson, so I asked Kieran for help. The teacher squinted. Why didn't you ask me? Does Kieran know more than the teacher? The whole class oohed, in unison as the teacher turned to Kieran. Come solve this exercise on the board. Let's see what you've got. Kieran gulped as all eyes turned to her. On the board, there were two options. One problem was easy, and the other looked like it came straight from a graduate math exam. With a deep breath, Kieran went for the hard one. Like a total boss, she nailed it in seconds. The class broke into applause, and the teacher looked a mix of shocked and impressed. As Kieran strutted back to her seat, she caught Famasa staring at her with literal hard eyes. Embarrassed, she quickly turned away, pretending not to notice, even though her ears were burning. Sliding into her seat, Kieran glared daggers at Pak. This is your fault. Pak, unfazed, gave her a thumbs up and a cheeky grin. I'm so proud of you, bestie. During the lunch break, Pak and Kieran went to the cafeteria. While they were eating, Kieran overheard students gossiping about her and Famasa, just as Pak had warned her earlier. Feeling uneasy and worried about how this might affect Famasa, Kieran couldn't hold back any longer. She stood up and addressed the group. Famasa and I are just friends. That's all, got it? The The students froze, startled by her sudden outburst. They quickly stopped talking and dispersed, leaving Kieran feeling a sense of relief. Moments later, Pak leaned over and whispered, "Ki, I think you're in trouble." Confused, Kieran turned around and saw Fimasa standing nearby, staring at her. Fim's expression was unreadable, something Kieran had never seen before. Without saying a word, Fim walked away, leaving Kieran with a deep, inexplicable ache in her chest. "Did I say something wrong, Pak?" Kieran asked quietly, her eyes lingering on the hallway where Fim had disappeared. Pak shook her head. "You didn't say anything wrong. What you said was the truth. Then why does it feel off?" Pak sighed, her tone unusually serious. "Because, Kai, sometimes the truth, when it's too blunt, leaves no room for imagination. And the truth you told? That's the truth of what is." Kieran stayed silent, but Pak's next words hit even harder. "But there's also a truth of what you feel. Have you ever really asked yourself what you feel, Ki?" The question lingered in the air, weighing heavier on Kieran's thoughts. Later in class, Kieran tried to focus. With a pen in hand, she doodled absent-mindedly on a piece of paper. Nearby, Fimasa and her group of friends were chatting. Pretending to listen to music, Kieran covertly listened to their conversation. The group was talking about their ideal types in a boyfriend. When it was Fim's turn, Kieran's hand froze mid-doodle, and her heart raced with anticipation. Fim answered, "I like someone tall, with a sharp nose, and really, really smart." One of Fim's friends chimed in, "Doesn't that sound like Kieran?" Kieran's heart skipped a beat, and she accidentally knocked her pen to the ground, but quickly caught it. Another friend laughed and said, "Don't be ridiculous, Ping. Kieran is a girl." The group burst out laughing. One of them asked, "Right, Fim?" There was a long pause before Fim finally said, "Yes." Kate, one of Fim's friends, jumped in. "Then maybe Bom fits the description? He's tall, has a 3.0 GPA, and isn't bad-looking." At the mention of Bom, Kieran clenched her pencil tightly, pressing it so hard that her doodle turned into a spiky cartoon bomb. "Bom? I guess he's close," Fim said hesitantly. Kieran couldn't listen anymore. She crumpled the paper in her hand and tossed it into the trash with a sharp motion. Fim and her friends glanced her way, but quickly continued their conversation. Picking up her phone, Kieran turned her music back on, cranked up the volume to max, and walked away without looking back. Thanks for watching, everyone. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. If you had fun, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me again soon.